Welcome. In today's lesson, I'll be demonstrating techniques of distilling information in the printed word. And the first step in this process is to go through your printed word item, whether it's a book or an article, and separate the information into categories. And how we're going to be doing this is we'll be creating a legend, a color-coded legend that breaks down all the information into different categories. So without further ado, let the distilling begin. So let's analyze this article, shall we? Cult in Festus. Some people ring alarms about a new church. Former members of a church that is getting ready to open in Festus say it's a cult and warn people to stay away. Well, that sounds like an opinion. So we'll go out and we'll create our legend now. So we'll title that the same title as the article. So Cult in Festus. And our first category that we'll put in there is opinion. And that color is pink. And then we'll go back to the article and we'll go ahead and highlight that paragraph in pink. They claim the group's leader, blank, misrepresents his credentials, teaches a mix of Christianity and occult, holds strange rituals, and condones polygamy. Again, this sounds like an opinion, so we'll go ahead and highlight that paragraph in pink. Blank, who was born in 1985 and now calls himself Blank, has a criminal record and served probation for a felony assault charge tied to a 2008 incident in Bonne Terre. Well, those sounds like very specific things and sounds like something that we can actually verify. So we'll go back out to our legend and we'll create a new category. And the new category will be a potential verifiable fact. And that category has a color of yellow. So we'll go back out to our article and we'll highlight that paragraph in yellow. He has led a number of groups he's called churches over the past decade or more and bought an old church building at 410 Moore Street in Festus in August 2023, according to records from the Jefferson County Assessor's Office. Again, sounds like very specific claims here, so we can potentially verify those. So we'll go ahead and highlight that paragraph in yellow as well. One of Blank's group is called St. Sophia's Antecedent Orthodox Church, which has begun holding some activities in the Festus building for a small group of members. So far, no service open to the general public has been held there, but Blank recently announced plans to hold St. Sophia's first public service on Sunday, May 5th. Again, that sounds like something that we can verify, so we'll go ahead and highlight that yellow as being a potential verifiable fact. Several attempts were made to reach Blank, but he did not respond to a message for comments sent to the email address listed on his business card, which has his work for a company called Archway Technology. He also did not return phone calls to a number listed at the business on that business card. Okay, well, this looks like it's a new category, and it's going. I think that this category should be entitled personal experience. Now, normally this category of personal experience mostly relates to the individuals that a reporter interviews, but in this case, they're putting their own experience as far as trying to contact this individual for comment. And it's something, unfortunately, that we can't verify, but is something that I trust the reporters telling the truth about. So this is a new category, so we'll go back out to our legend. We'll add a new category, which is personal experience. We'll put non-verifiable because we can't verify it. That category will be in blue. We go back to our article and we'll go ahead and highlight that entire paragraph in blue. No one answers calls to a number listed at the St. Sophia, and no voicemail was set up as of Monday. Again, this is personal experience of this reporter trying to contact this individual for comment. So again, that's personal experience. A man who identified himself as blank, a St. Louis criminal defense attorney, called the leader on its deadline late Monday afternoon and said he represents blank. However, the man could not provide any information about blank's credentials or background at that time. Again, personal experience of the reporter coming in contact with this person that called their office based on doing this article. So again, that paragraph in blue. Festus Police Chief Blank said that he has heard rumors about the groups operating out of the old church building, but as of April 12th, has had received no complaints from neighbors or others about any goings on there. Well, this is another new category. So we'll go out to our legend, and I feel that this category is a conflicting statement. And the reason why I say this is a conflicting statement is because so far this article has tried to represent this individual in kind of a bad light. And here we have local law enforcement saying that they have not heard any complaints or any issues from this group. So to me, that's a conflicting statement. So, and that we're going to make that category orange. We'll back out to our article and go ahead and highlight that paragraph in orange. Blank also leads a group called the Order of the White Road and was formed after St. Sophia's was registered as a nonprofit with the state. And Blank didn't respond to phone calls to a number associated with that group. Again, this sounds like something that could be verifiable. So we'll go ahead and mark that in yellow as a potential verifiable fact. So we'll highlight that in yellow. He is listed as the owner of the registered agent for St. Sophia's and the Order of the White Road, and the two organizations are connected, according to the records from the Missouri Secretary of State office. Well, that is something that we can verify, so we'll go ahead and make that, we'll highlight that in yellow as well. The order was still operating last week, but its website and social media accounts have since been shut down. That's something that we can verify, so we'll go ahead and highlight that in yellow as well. The website described the order as an esoteric mystery school and said that those who took the courses would learn like the ancients. that's something that we can potentially verify. So we'll go ahead and highlight that paragraph in yellow as well. Former members speak out. Blank of O'Fallon, Illinois, a former member of Blank's group, said he came across the Order's website in 2020 during the height of the pandemic, and he began taking the courses Blank offered via a Zoom conferencing app. Well, that sounds like a personal experience to me. It's something that's not verifiable, but it's something that he claims that he did. So we'll go ahead and mark that as personal experience. So we'll highlight that in blue. Blank said for a fee was charged to take the course, starting off at $25 a month. Again, that's personal experience. This person's personal experience with interacting with this individual and his group. So we'll go ahead and mark that in blue. I was interested in esoteric and eclectic groups, he said, and was looking for something here in St. Louis, in the St. Louis area. I found a website for the Order of the White Road. I had been a member of the order since then, officially until about a week ago, he said, on April 3rd. Again, this is personal experience. So we'll highlight that in blue. Blank said membership in the group was interesting and entertaining at first, but he started becoming more and more indoctrinated. Eventually, he said he became disillusioned with Blank and his teachings, though, and decided to leave. Again, this is personal experience that this person has had with this individual and this individual's group. So we'll highlight that in blue. He said Blank draws on the occult for some of his teachings, adding that Blank claims to sometimes channel someone else, which allows him to read the members' future and instruct them on how to better reach their goals in the order. Again, this is a personal experience. So we'll go ahead and mark that in blue. Blank said during one of those readings, Blank encouraged him to break up with his girlfriend, which was one of the final straws that led Blank to leave. Again, this is personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue. He said polygamy is practiced in the order, and Blank teaches that when a man has sex with a woman, the two are considered married. The male members of the group are allowed to have 2 or more wives. Again, this is a personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue. Blank said another final straw was when he heard about a ritual Blank planned for another member that involved something sexual. Blank said he thought the ritual would harm the member and confronted Blank, who told Blank he had nothing to worry about because the member had signed a consent form that prohibited her from suing over the ritual. Again, this is a personal experience, so we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue. He thought I was worried about the church being sued, not about the members' well-being, Blank added. Well, this seems to be something that we were kind of informed. We kind of are informed about this statement based on his previous statement here, and in which I think is more of an opinion. So we'll go ahead and mark this as an opinion and highlight that in pink. After that, Blank said he had had enough and left the group. Again, this is a personal experience that this person had with this individual and their group. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue. He said it's not necessarily easy to gain acceptance into the order. A prospective member must apply and be voted in. The person must also pay a fee and sign a non-disclosure agreement that instructs the member against divulging information about the group and its practices. Again, this is seems to be a personal experience that this person has had, so we'll go ahead and mark that in blue. Despite the NDA blank signed, he said he felt compelled to come forward with his warnings about blank in an effort to help those who are still under his sway and to keep others from joining his group. Well, here we have a new category, and this category is motive. So we'll go back to our legend. We'll add the new category, motive, and this color associated with this category is going to be green. So we'll go back to our article and we will highlight that paragraph in green. I want to prevent this from spreading, blank said. People are still in, people I love. They're absolutely sucked in. The things they do are insane. Now here we have two different things going on or actually two different statements and categories, if you will, going on in the same paragraph. So the first part of it, where it says, I want to prevent this from spreading, blank said, goes back to motive. So that will be green. We'll highlight that in green. And then in the second part, where he says they're absolutely sucked in, the things they do are insane, to me seem to be opinion. So we'll go ahead and highlight those in those two sentences of the paragraph in pink. Other former members want to come forward too, blank said, but they are afraid because of the NDAs and the possible legal ramifications associated with them. This sounds like experience, like personal experience, like he knows that there's other people that want to come forward. So we'll mark that as personal experience and we'll highlight that in blue. Blank of St. Louis County said she was a member of the order and also signed an NDA. Again, this is personal experience. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue. Blank said she also was asked not to disclose to anyone outside the group the time, dates, and places where meetings were held. Again, this is someone speaking to their experience with this individual and their group. So this is a personal experience. It's not verifiable, but is personal experience. So we'll go ahead and mark that in blue. She said blank introduced her to the group, but was kicked out before the St. Sophia's building was purchased. This, again, is personal experience, so we'll mark that in blue. Blank said she was expelled from the group because of her skepticism about Blank's teachings. Again, this is a personal experience about this person's past experience with this individual and this individual's group, so we'll mark that in blue as personal experience. It was a cult of mysticism wrapped up in Christianity, just a mess. And anything I would question that the order was teaching, well, that didn't sit well with Blank, she said. There were so many red flags and creepy stuff. He said he had a mentor back in Rome and said he knew of this ancient secret stuff. Well, this paragraph has two different categories in it, I believe. So this first part of it was occult and mysticism wrapped up in Christianity, just a mess, sounds like an opinion. That's someone's opinion. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in pink as an opinion. And then the rest of it about, anything I would question about the church and the teachings and things being red flag and a mentor back in Rome, all that is we'll highlight in blue as a personal experience. something that's not verifiable, but something that could have happened. Despite her misgivings, Blank said she became more and more involved in the group, adding that she eventually was brainwashed. Again, this is a personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue. Blank said Blank didn't directly tell her to isolate herself from those outside the order, but she felt intense pressure to attend the group's frequent meetings and gatherings and to devote herself to the group. Again, this sounds like a personal experience that this individual has had with this individual and this individual's group. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue. He puts forward that swearing an oath to the order is the same thing as swearing an oath to God, Blank said. Again, this is a personal experience. So we'll highlight that in blue. Despite all that pressure, Blank said she never could fully dismiss her doubts about Blank's teaching, and the mentor the group assigned her eventually pushed for her to be expelled from the group. Again, this is personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue. Now that she looks back at the experience, Blank said she realizes the emotional trauma she suffered while part of the group. That is a personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue. Blank said he too was traumatized by the membership in the group. Again, a personal experience. We'll highlight that in blue. There was so much pressure to always be there, and if you left early, it was like you got a demerit and you'd be left out after that, he said. You'd be ostracized and bullied. Again, this is this individual's personal experience with this individual and this individual's group, so we'll highlight that in blue as personal experience. Blank said it also became more expensive to participate in the group as time went on. That's personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue as well. The monthly fee rose to $30 and a $50 annual fee was charged, he said. Again, personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue. Blank said he also had to pay $42 a month to serve on a committee. Again, that's personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue. He would tell us the money went to cover computer server maintenance and later to pay bills at the church. That's seems like a personal experience, so we'll highlight that in blue as well. Ex-members say members are exploited. Both Blank and Blank said Blank is good at reading people and recognizing their vulnerabilities, which is used to draw them into the group. Well, that sounds like an opinion, so we'll go ahead and highlight that paragraph in pink. He's taking these people who are deeply vulnerable and lonely and then using them so he can have money and have them do whatever he wants, Blank said. Well, that sounds like an opinion, so we'll go ahead and highlight that paragraph in pink. She said of Blank's group are pressured into taking part in sexual activities. So that sounds like an opinion. It could be either opinion or personal experience. We don't have enough information right now for that to be, I guess, personal experience. So we'll go ahead and mark that as pink for opinion. He used ritual and magic to have people have sex with one another, she said. It was about power and control. Okay, well, there's two different things going on here, and it sounds like in this paragraph that she does have more information, less specific information as to any kind of sexual activity going on. So We'll go ahead and highlight the first part of this paragraph as far as when it says he uses ritual and magic uh, as a personal experience in blue. We'll also go up and re-highlight that last paragraph in blue, since it is personal experience that we now know as personal experience. And then the last sentence of that paragraph, it's about power and control, is an opinion. So we'll go ahead and mark that in pink. There are people you can take all the advantage of in the world of, and it might be legal, but it's not right. He has very carefully walked the line of just keeping it on the side of legal. Again, it seems like this paragraph is split into two categories. The first, where it says there are people you can take all the advantage of, and it might not be legal, or it might be legal but it's not right, is an opinion to me. So I'm going to mark that in pink as an opinion. And that second half is very important. The second sentence of that paragraph of he has very carefully walked the line of just keeping it on the legal side is to me a conflicting statement, because once again, this person and these, two individuals who were former members are, have painted this person in a bad light, yet here this one individual claims that he hasn't done anything illegal. So to me, that's a conflicting statement. So we'll go ahead and mark that sentence in orange. Blank also is good at speaking and telling compelling stories, blank and blank said. Again, that's a subjective not argument, but a subjective thing to say about, being a good speaker, or, compelling at telling stories is subjective to everybody. So we'll go ahead and mark that as an opinion and mark that in pink. They said blank encourages those who took the orders classes to get together in each other's homes and for weekend retreats at Airbnbs, where he meets with members, sometimes one-on-one. Again, that sounds like it's a personal experience. So we'll go ahead and mark that as such and mark that in blue. Both blank and blank said blank teaches focus on end of world ideas and secrets that only he and the order members are privy to. Again, that sounds like personal experience of this individual's experience with this individual and this individual's group. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue for personal experience. Blank says she remembers once when blank said he had to perform an exorcism because someone had summoned something that could end the world. Again, this is a personal experience. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue. As members move up in the order's hierarchy, blank and blank said they learn more and more about blank's secretive practices and rituals. Again, these two individuals, a personal experience with this individual and this individual's organization or group. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue as for personal experience. Things that are controversial you don't encounter until you move up in the ranks, blank said. This sounds like it's an opinion because, again, things that are controversial are, subjective to each individual. So this is an opinion. So we'll highlight that in pink. For example, members who have been with the group for a while are encouraged to take part in rituals that involve nudity, he said. This to me is a personal experience. So this person seems to have some kind of knowledge about this going on. So we'll mark that as personal experience. So we'll highlight that in blue. Blank said blank encouraged members of the order from outside the St. Louis area to move here so that they can regularly meet with him and other group members in person. Again, this sounds like it's personal experience. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue. Blank said he believes blank uses the order to recruit St. Sophia members and bought the old church building in Festus in an effort to put a more legitimate face on the group. This sounds like an opinion. He uses the word believes, so it's an opinion, so we'll go ahead and mark that as such. So we'll highlight that in pink. The order was his attempt to recruit members from the larger world, and the church was to get members to donate money, he said. One member donated a large amount of money, and he used it to buy the church building. So it seems that there's a couple of things going on here, two different things going on here in this paragraph. So the first, the order was his attempt to recruit members from a larger world. Sounds like in its opinion. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in pink. On the second paragraph, one member donated a large sum of money. It sounds like he has maybe some actual knowledge of that. So that's personal experience. So we'll go ahead and mark that as such. So we'll highlight that in blue. Blank agrees. He wants to be legitimized, she said. He wants authority and power and everything that it brings. Again, this sounds like this is a person's opinion about the motives of this individual. So we'll go ahead and highlight that as such. So we'll highlight that in pink. Blank's background. Blank said blank claims he is an ordained priest with a degree in theology, adding that he likes to wear a collar like a priest. This sounds like personal experience, like something that this individual has encountered. So we'll go ahead and mark that as personal experience. So we'll mark that in blue. However, she doesn't believe he has the credential he brags about. So the fact that that it says that she doesn't believe that he has the credentials, it's an opinion of hers. So we'll go ahead and mark that as an opinion. So we'll highlight that in pink. He widely misrepresents himself, she said. Again, this is based on the previous, so we'll go ahead and mark that as an opinion and highlight that in pink. Prior to the formation of St. Sophia's and the order, Blank claimed to be the leader of a group called the Celestial Dragon Covenant, Blank said. Well, that sounds like he might have some kind of personal knowledge about that. So we'll go ahead and mark that as personal experience. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in blue. After that, Blank formed a group called the Church of the Acolytes of the Seven Thunders, which was registered with the state as a nonprofit group before the filing was amended to the group was renamed St. Sophia's Antecedent Orthodox Church, according to the Secretary of State office. Again, that's very specific information and something that we can potentially verify. So we'll go ahead and mark that as a potential verifiable fact. So we'll highlight that in yellow. Those documents list an address on Blank in Bonne Terre for the owner or registered agent for St. Sophia's and the order. Again, that sounds like something that we can potentially verify. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in yellow. That is Blank's home address, at least until recently. Okay, so we have potentially two different things going on. We don't have enough information for all of it, but that's being, them saying that that's this individual's home address is something that we can potentially verify. The fact that he's not living there anymore is, something right now that we can't verify. So we'll leave that. So we'll just highlight that is his home address as a potential verifiable fact. We'll highlight that in yellow. Blank and blank said they believe that blank and his wife blank have moved in with St. Sophia members who live in Festus. Well, because they use the word believe means that it's an opinion, it's something that they're not for sure, but that they think is going on. So we'll have to mark that as an opinion in pink, and then that kind of informs us to that second half of the paragraph above where it says at least until recently, meaning that that portion is also an opinion. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in pink as well. Blank said he saw bylaws from Blank's previous acolytes of the Seven Thunders group that called for the use of corporal punishment against members who broke the group's rules. Again, this is personal experience. It's not something that we can verify, unfortunately. So we'll just put that down as personal experience. So we'll highlight that in blue. Blank said learning about Blank's criminal history was another reason he left the order. Okay, well, that again is personal experience. So we'll go ahead and mark that in blue. In June 2009, Blank pleaded guilty to felony second-degree assault for holding a knife against a man's throat and threatening to kill him. The other man's hand was cut in the struggle for the knife, according to news reports following the incident. Well, that seems very specific with dates and actual guilty pleas and stuff. That's something that we can potentially, hopefully, verify. So we'll go ahead and mark that as a potential verifiable fact, and we'll highlight that in yellow. When Blank was arrested, he reportedly told the police officer he was the leader of the Bon Terre cult, authorities reported at the time. Again, that's something that we can potentially verify, so we'll go ahead and highlight that as a potential verifiable fact, so we'll highlight that in yellow. After Blank's guilty plea, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison, but the sentence was suspended and he was placed on probation, which he completed in August 2013. Again, those are some very specific potential verifiable facts, so we'll go ahead and mark this as such. So we'll go ahead and highlight that in yellow. If the best things that come out of this was that everyone knows about his criminal past, then that's enough, Blank said, about his decision to speak out about Blank in the order. Well, this goes back to motive for this individual to speak up, so we'll go ahead and mark that as motive, so we'll highlight that in green. There are people in that group who are being abused, he said. I want to do everything in my power to stop it. If I can't convince them it's wrong, maybe we can convince other people not to join and the church eventually will go broke. So two different things are going on here. The first is his opinion that people are being abused, so we'll go ahead and mark that as opinion and we'll highlight that in pink. And then he talks about, he wants, he's trying to do everything in his power to stop this from spreading and stop it and convince people it's wrong. And so that speaks to this person's motive for speaking to this reporter on this story. So we'll go ahead and mark that as motive. So we'll highlight that in green. And there you have it. We now have the entire article broken down into categories for us to do some analysis on later. I know that was a pretty lengthy process, but an important and critical step in the process of distilling information in the printed word. Only through the technique of categorizing are we able to separate or strip away the accompanying commentary of opinion and non-verifiable personal experience from the facts, or rather the potential verifiable facts? This is where we'll be ending our lesson for today. I invite you to join me in the next lesson, where we'll continue and conclude the techniques for distilling information in the printed word. Until next time, take care.